All right, we are currently live. All right, thank you everybody for joining me for Not Another Bitcoin interview. Today I'm here with Thomas France, the co-founder of Ledger Wallet. If you could go ahead and introduce yourself, let everybody know who you are, how you got into cryptocurrencies, and what you do in the industry now.
Sure. I'm Thomas. I'm one of the co-founder of Ledger. So I'm French, as you can tell from my accent. The company was actually founded in France in 2014, and I'm now based in the US, where I'm leading like the operation and the business development in the US. And yeah, I got involved in crypto. I think it was mid 2013. At the time, we had like a previous startup that we sold in late 2013. So we had some more time after that to really focus on some projects around Bitcoin blockchain. So that was the beginning of my involvement in the space.
That's awesome. I'm excited that you're in this space because without it, we wouldn't have the Ledger wallet, in my opinion, which is like the best cryptocurrency wallet. But that's besides the point. Maybe you could give the viewers a little bit of information on like the backstory of Ledger and how you became the hardware wallet company that we know today, and some of the hurdles that you face as a hardware wallet company.
Sure. So as I said, we started working on Bitcoin and crypto in 2014. So we were based in Paris. We started like to iterate on a bunch of projects, make some hackathon to gather the community, the Bitcoin community in Paris, to find some interesting projects to work on. And yeah, we kind of met with different type of people in the industry in France, and we decided to launch like a big project that was working on something very valuable, that was answering a very massive pain point, and that was a pain point of security. And security is a massive, big problem in crypto. If you want to be your own bank, you need to manage your private keys, and to manage your private keys, you need to have the right tools to make sure that the keys are secured properly in full isolation to the network. You cannot screw up. So you really needed to have like some massive, important security features for your Bitcoins. And in France, it's a country of like the smart card industry. That's where like all these secure hardware designs were designed initially, and we had this competency to work on to leverage secure hardware and smart cards to build some secure hardware wallets based on secure elements. That basically makes it easy and simple to store your private keys. So blockchain private keys are stored on the secure element, full isolation to the network. You just plug it in your computer. You can build a transaction on your computer, and you actually validate on the device and sign on the device the transaction. So the keys, everything that is critical, is never exposed to the network, and you can be an order of magnitude safer than having your keys like on a general purpose computer or on an online wallet.
Exactly. If you don't hold your keys, it's not your Bitcoin. And literally, I'm holding my keys. I'm literally holding my Bitcoin on this Ledger wallet. I absolutely love that. Speaking of security, as securities advance, the things that test those securities advance even better and more, you could say. So as the securities are put in place, things that keep testing those keep popping up. How are some of the ways that like Ledger's taking precautions in this? Is there bug bounties out there, or people are like, what about if there's an attack or a hack software wise? So like, what are some of the things that you were thinking, or is there any steps put in place to prevent like these new forms of security issues?
Let's say that if you want to be secure, you just need to be in a way more secure than the one that you need to run faster than the bear. You just need to run faster than the slowest guy. And so yeah, people the first attacks are basically targeting on some people who have some money online, or some unencrypted wallet on their computer. So just having like a hardware wallet is already like a way to stop most of the unsophisticated attacks. As we see more attacks popping in, there's some way on Ledger device to secure that. For example, When you generate a receiving address at the beginning, you could just the receiving address was displayed on your computer, on the Chrome application, or on the software wallet, and you had to trust that there was no like man-in-the-middle attack that was placing like a wrong destination address. So now you are able to validate on the screen which address you're about to give to your fellow friend to receive a payment. And yeah, so as there are more and more complex attacks, the ledger already like solve most of them, but as we see some popping in, we work on a way to fix them, to make it more easy to.
Excellent. Yes, I've seen that. I on my Ledger Blue right here, like you said, it's I send the address on my computer, but it asks me if I'm sure on the Ledger if this is the right address. So, like you said, there's already steps being put in place to counteract those hacks in advance before they even become a problem. User solving problems. I love that. Maybe a lot of my viewers are new to this space, so maybe you could do me a favor and explain to them the difference between a software wallet like Jaxx and a hardware wallet like Ledger, and what really sets you apart from other hardware wallets.
Sure. So let's say there's different categories of wallets. There's the one that are let's say hosted wallets and that are like Bitcoin banks. So it's basically instead of managing your private keys and managing the security of the keys, you delegate that security to a third party like the exchange or whatever brokerage system like Coinbase or Xapo, and you trust them to secure the keys. So in some scenarios, it can be like a good thing if you have just like a few tens of dollars and you don't want to care about the security. You just give it to that kind of online wallet, but it's not your Bitcoin. You gave the keys to somebody else, and you've got an IOU to access those Bitcoins. So it can be very risky because you don't know if the account is going to get frozen for whatever reason, or that the platform is going to get hacked for, again, whatever reason. So that's the first category. I would say that's kind of risky because you don't have the control of the keys. The other one is to use like what we call a decentralized wallet, so where you have the ownership of the keys. And the first one is like basically software wallets. And the software wallets are basically an application that are running on your phone and on your computer that will have like two layers. The layers where you have like the private keys that are stored on the computer, the private keys that represents your Bitcoin or your cryptos. And after, you have all the interaction with the blockchain to be able to see how much you have, to be able to build the transaction. But what we see there is that the keys are actually stored on a computer or on a phone. And phones and computer are not designed to retain secrets, and it's hard to store like a string of text in a computer. It's not designed for that, and you need to be. It's clearly not that easy to perform that. And the keys are basically exposed potentially to the network. So you never know if there is malware that is out there targeting your keys. You don't know if there's a malware that is going to make like a man-in-the-middle attack and change destination address, and you can end up like losing all your funds. Of course, if you are uncomfortable losing that amount, it's something you need to be careful about, and consider having these keys always offline and never exposed to the network. And that's where the hardware come to play. Let's say that the initial form of a hardware wallet was basically like an offline computer. So it was just a computer that was never exposed to the network, where you had like some wallets installed on it. And the sole purpose of that device was to sign a transaction. So you had like a computer that was offline that was just dealing with the communication with the blockchain, and a computer that was offline that was just dealing with the signature of the transaction. But you can see that it's kind of cumbersome. You need to create the transaction on on the phone that is, on the computer that is exposed to the network. Then put the USB key, put the transaction you need to sign on the USB, put it on the offline computer, sign it, take the signed transaction, put it on the online computer, and then broadcast it to the network. That could be kind of cumbersome. And the hardware wallet basically replaces that offline computer. It is basically an offline computer that you plug in your computer, that the computer that is exposed to the network is going to build the transaction, and the transaction is going to be signed on the device. There is a string to validate what you are about to sign. So you see, okay, do you want to sign this transaction or 1 Bitcoin to this address? Yes and no. And the signature is actually made on the device. So the keys never leave the device in full isolation to the network, so that you can sleep tight and knowing that the keys are not accessible by the network.
Speaking of sleep tight, one of the most asked questions I get about Ledger hardware wallet when I tell people, hey, this is, do this, it's safer, get a hardware wallet. The most combative question I get, and I do find this personally like a little complicated to answer, especially when people aren't so familiar with hardware wallets. It is a hardware that does depend on Ledger software, like the Chrome application or Mycelium. Some effect, we do need a software interaction with our hardware. So maybe you could explain to some viewers that are a little worried, like what if something were to happen to Ledger, or what if Chrome or somebody were to discontinue the software, how people could go about protecting themselves and recovering their private keys off of the hardware if something were to happen to the software.
Sure. So one important step I didn't mention when you receive the wallet, you receive it empty. It means that Ledger, what we do, we just provide a device, a signing device that is totally unloaded, that is in factory mode. So when you initialize it, when you plug it in for the first time, it will ask you to set up a PIN code to protect it against every time you log in on the device. And it will also generate 24 words. These 24 words is your seed, and it represents your master private key. Out of that master private key, you will be able to derive a huge number of Bitcoin private keys, or Litecoin, or Ethereum private keys, or Ripple, or whatever type of coins Ledger supports. So the 24 words, it's your backup in case of disaster recovery. In case you lose the device, you still have your 24 words, and you can either buy another Ledger or go on any compatible wallets to restore your coins with these 24 words. If Ledger dies for whatever reason, there's a nuclear attack on Paris, and there's no more Paris, and there's no more Ledger, you still have the 24 words. All the code for the Chrome application, for the integration that you have with Mycelium, with Electrum, with Copay, with BitGo, with MyEther wallet, with Mist, with Parity, all the integration that we have is open source on our GitHub, and as long as you have the 24 words, you have the funds. So it was very important for us. We did not want to have any custody whatsoever of the funds of the users. We're just a signing device. You still have the full ownership of the coins, and so it comes with responsibility, of course. If you lose that device and the backup, then you have a risk of you lose everything. But if you have this and your 24 words, you know that you are the only one in control of the coin.
Yeah, that's very important in this space. Is if you want to be involved in crypto, you are taking on a ginormous personal responsibility task where you're responsible for your money because you don't want to give that up to a third party. And I like that Ledger makes it impossible to not write down your private keys because they ask you for them at the next step. So you can literally not write them down because you have to put them in, and then you can add funds. So it's dummy proof. I like that a lot. Speaking of private keys, though, and you mentioned like Ethereum and Ripple, you just added Ripple. If you could touch on some of the conversations around that process, like what led Ledger to adding Ripple, and how that whole process was, and maybe if there's any that you can, confirm or maybe speculate on coins that might be added and why or how those are, added. Like, what's the process like?
So the way we design the architecture is to have like SDK for basically anybody who wants to build their coin support. They can do it like fairly easily. So it's not like it needs, of course, a bit of work, but it's possible to integrate your own coin on your own, basically, without asking us the permission. We have like different policies to add new coins, and so it really depends on. Let's say the first one is, let's say there's a huge market demand, so a huge market cap, and every day we receive like tens of emails. When are you going to support XRP? When are you going to support XRP? And so we received that like in January, February. We had like a huge load of questions on how to when we will support XRP. So we saw like an opportunity to add it because there was indeed like a lot of people that wanted to have that and that were considering buying a hardware wallet for this. So that's the reason we added it. There's a bunch of other cryptos where we have like a lot of demand every day. For example, that's Monero. We're receiving a lot. The only problem we have right now is that we need to spend some time to see the feasibility on integrating like all the exotic crypto they are using within the secure element. So the secure element is very resource constrained, the hardware wallet. So it's hard to fit everything in. So hopefully we'll find a way to go through that. So that's why it's planned. Monero is planned, but there's no ETA because we still don't know. We still need to overcome a couple of hurdles. And once it's done, we'll be able to announce an ETA, but nothing on yet. And after, it's basically based on market demand, and we also have like a SDK available. So we appreciate when people just ping us on the Slack. We've got a developer Slack, and we can point them on the different SDK, on the different application and code sample that we have for the Nano S and the Chrome application to be able to build their own integration. So let's say it's either community, huge market demand, or like coming from the community around the coin, either the foundation or just the community that plays around with the device. And if they want to absolutely make an integration and they don't have like the skill set or all that, we can also partner and find a deal to make the integration.
That's great. One of the things I'd like to touch on is, like, for me, when I look at a cryptocurrency to hold long term, I look at wallets that are, like Ledger or at the time Jack, stuff like that. So like when wallets add cryptocurrencies, to me, I feel like that adds some credibility to that coin's blockchain. But recently, Jax has just been adding anything, and it's nice to know that Ledger takes a lot into consideration before you put your work into making an application for your wallet. But I also like the fact that anybody who wants to put the work in can make an application for the wallet. Personally, I would like to see Steam it on the hardware wallet. There's a lot of people out there basically making a living as journalists on that network, and I would like to have them have their money somewhere safe. Is there a cryptocurrency or any blockchain coin that you would like to see on your hardware wallet that isn't?
Well, right now I'm okay. I'm good. In terms of other coins, maybe that are not on it. And that I personally hold not much, so yeah, maybe there will be some other interesting projects where it would be fun to have them integrated. But right now there's some demand right now about like all the hypes, some NEM, some Digibyte, some stuff like that. But me personally, I don't have a strong opinion on which coin to add.
Well, hey, those developers for Digibyte can create the application if they'd like. So the users or the investors of that cryptocurrency should probably speak out to the developers of the cryptocurrency and tell them to get up on their game. That's how I feel. One of the things I'd like to ask, though, is how did Ledger get the name Ledger? And how do you think that's working out for the wallet company so far? And if you and the Ledger Blue, like, how did you guys come about naming these products in the brand?
Alors, Ledger. So this started with some of the team in France when we started the company that were working on an Explorer, and they had this name Ledger. So we kind of found it to be like a different name that we really liked. It was not like Bit something or Coin something or Block whatever, and so it was like a name that was a bit different. And we kind of well, appreciated it from day one, and that's how we started using Ledger. And after, yeah, the initial product was the Nano S, the Nano, Ledger Nano, which was like the one that you have around your neck, I guess.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, this was our first iteration based like on just for Bitcoin. For that one, it was like based on a very old secure element that did not have that much space. And we then like launched the Nano S, because there's more speed and there's also a little screen. So that's the reason why you have an S. And this one is really like the great market fit. Yeah, so like more than 100,000 of them in 130 countries. It's really a great market fit for that one. Fair price. The compact design, people really appreciate it. And in the same time, we launched the Ledger Blue. So the Ledger Blue was really the one that we envisioned from the beginning, with like a large touchscreen, a color touchscreen, based on the same architecture with like secure elements. ST31, ST32 for the stuff that we use. Large screen where you can have some more real estate on the screen to review the transaction, review complex transactions, smart contracts, stuff like that. And if it's a blue, it's because it has built-in BLE inside it, so it's not activated by the firmware yet. But with a firmware update, it will be able to have like the BLE. So yeah, Ledger Blue because Bluetooth, no energy.
I like that. It's like a Easter egg. I really like that. It's awesome. The Ledger name and the Ledger Blue name both come from pretty much like Easter eggs in the know. If you're a nerd, you'll get it. I think that's awesome. Like I said, it's not playing on the buzzwords of block something or coin something. It's like the Madonna of one word. I like it a lot. So I wanted to touch up on like BIP 148 and the UASF that's coming up on August 1st, and how Ledger is taking precautions or plans on taking steps into protecting people's Bitcoin. What are some of the things that you would recommend that people do, and how is Ledger themselves taking steps into protecting people's Bitcoin?
Sure. So yeah, so first of all, Ledger, we as a company, we support like SegWit, and we want SegWit to be in Bitcoin because it fixes a lot of stuff for us as a company. It's easier to make transaction on a hardware wallet with SegWit, and we've been supporting SegWit from close to day one, and it's already like compatible with SegWit already. And yeah, after there's different way to activate it, and right now people are talking about UASF 148. SegWit 2x, whatever. So there will be a period where it's going to be there will be this activation of like a different proposal. And us as a company, Ledger, we don't want like to force users on one or another. At least when there is multiple potential coins. So what we will do is we will have an interface on the Chrome app where the user will be able to choose which chain he wants to use. So there will be like a choice. You want a core US 148 or the other proposal, and the user will have the ability to select on which server they want to relay that. So we'll be running different nodes to offer the user the option. After, if a user wants to only use like a USAF, all good. He can do that. He can do that on Ledger. He can do that like on any other wallets on Electrum or Mycelium or on the Ledger device. So basically, I would say that there will be a period when there will be some bit of mess. Let's say it's going to be we don't know what is going to happen. So what we would recommend is not avoid transacting as much as possible. You will have the ability to choose which chain you want to be on, and if we see that there are some two chains that coexist, well, we will offer most likely a tool to be able to split the coins similarly to what we've done for ETH, ETC, where we offered like a tool to be able to split between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So we made like a little post on that on our blog for all the different hard forks attempts that there were like in the last 2 years. So still the same position.
Gotcha. Just to clarify, it sounds like you almost say that we'll have a choice between one or the other. So we won't see two Bitcoin on our wallet.
Yeah, well, you will choose on which chain you want to relay the transaction, and after, if there's like a split, we will offer like a splitting. If there is a split with two chains that coexist, well, there will be a tool to split them,
and you'll end up holding both on Ledger.
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
As long as you, the thing you have to understand is, as long as you have the keys, and there is a split, you have the keys for the two chains. So that's and after, if you have a coexistence of two chains, if you want to avoid like a potential relay attacks, you split them into two new keys on different chain, and you can have a coexistence on different chain. So the thing you have to remember is, if you have the keys, if there's a coin split, you still have the keys for both of the chain. If you have your keys on an exchange, they can offer a splitting solution, or it's not sure, it's not guaranteed.
I have two viewers that have a good question right now, James Bond and Ed Martin. They both wanted to know, and I'm going to rephrase this a little bit, if Ledger Wallet wasn't around, which hardware wallet would you use and why?
Well, there's a bunch of other hardware wallets company. There's Trezor, there's Kiki, and basically they perform like a similar function in a way that it's hardware wallet to keep your private keys. They have a string to validate the transaction. They've got like some coin support, a bit less than Ledger. We believe that the architecture is a bit different, and it allows us to. It's not based on a secure element. Basically, it doesn't have the same type of SDK to add some new coins, but that would be like the other players that are out there. So there's Trezor and Kiki.
Awesome. I like the honesty. Another question is. Another like big topic besides the user activated soft fork right now, at least in Bitcoin, is the fees per transaction. How does Ledger go about trying to make sure that their users get the high, or not the highest, but like the best transaction fee across transactions? How does Ledger go about the transaction fee? How's that decided?
So right now we use like a fee estimator that is as good as it is. I guess there's still some improvement to be done in the fee estimates, and I think there've been some patches to core to be able to to get better fee estimates. And right now, yeah, we offer like 3 options basically. Fast, medium, low, which is based on fee estimates on the if you wanted to have it like in the next blocks, in the next few blocks, or you're ready to wait a little bit. And you also have the ability to put like a custom fee instead of per bytes or kilobytes or whatever. So so yeah, we use a fee estimate. I think it's 21. We will make sure we if there's some better fee estimate solution, we will do it, because we believe there's some major improvement to be done on that. And yeah, and after last resort, people can choose their own fees.
Oh, what's next for Ledger? Like, what's on the ledger for Ledger? What's the next thing that you've got on your to-do list? And maybe explain a little bit, if you can, about how you plan to achieve that.
Sure. So there's 2 aspects moving forward. There is the consumer play and more like an enterprise play. The consumer play, it's well to work like on the new version of the software wallet. So we currently rely like on a Chrome application. So you may know that Chrome they are going to deprecate it, and we are working like on an Electron app that will be like more convenient in terms of in terms of UX. It will be one app to have like all the different coin support. So that's one of the things we're working on, as well as like different integrations. So integration either with new coins. So there will be as we move forward, there will be like a bunch of other coins that we will integrate. So this is just a question of resources right now. If we get like some more resources, we'll be able to work on some new integration of the top coins, and also integration with other wallets. So there's a lot of people like we'd love to have like some integration with Jax, with Exodus, with Ethereum, different Ethereum wallets, different Ethereum projects. So there's a lot of integration. Well, to be using the ledger as a signing device for other wallets, it's something we'll be working on as well.
Personally, my dream team is Ledger and Jax. You guys teaming up would probably be like the end of crypto wallet competition. Like, that would be a great pair, and I hope that does happen. And if you viewers are watching, make sure that Jax knows, tag Jackson and Ledger and Twitter, and let them know to team up.
It's on the roadmap, and we're discussing together, and we want this to happen. It just yeah, the only problem right now is a question of resource, and right now it's the same for everybody in the ecosystem. The tide is going up, and we're all struggling not to scale up and to keep everything running, and so right now is the main bottleneck is our resources to make all these jobs. So we're also recruiting. So if you are in France, have like a engineering challenge you want to see, we're recruiting mostly in France right now. So
that's awesome. I hope one of my viewers ends up moving to France and working for Ledger. That would be awesome. That would be like a great legacy backstory. Like 2 years from now, like, hey, I watched that video on your channel. Now I work for Ledger. So I'd like to get on a little bit of like a personal topic here. Like, I know cryptocurrency is like all consuming, and once you're involved in cryptocurrency, it's basically all you do all day, every day. So like, what is something outside of cryptocurrency that Thomas can talk about? Like, what really gets your attention, or what could you be found interested in outside of this space?
Well, yeah, I found there's that space, and after there's well, family. There's a bunch of other stuff I do beside of that, and well, yeah, there's a lot of topics interesting in other space. I've got some friends working in some interesting stuff areas in machine learning, in healthcare, and all that. So yeah, keep there's a lot of things to be interested in apart from crypto, and yeah, need always to find some time to get interested on other stuff. Not to forget like family, friends, and not to be consumed by crypto all the day.
It's hard. I mean, this is basically all I do as far as my day job. I fix smartphones and tablets and stuff, but outside of my day job, this is pretty much it. I fell down the rabbit hole and I can't get out. I love it. Let's see. I think we pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about here. Is there anything that you would like to, make sure that we covered before we end the interview, or is there anything that you would like to ask me? Anything I should have asked you?
Yeah. If you want to have a ledger, go on ledgerwallet.com. Right now, we have a back order which is fairly big. Unfortunately, we have like almost 6 weeks of back orders, but yeah, ledgerwallet.com to get your ledger if you want to try. And yeah, there's quite a lot of resources, whether it is on Reddit or on our website or on different blogs, different channels like yours. So yeah, you can find some additional resources if you want, and feel free to ping me if you have some question as well. Thomas at ledger.fr.
I had a couple questions. Somebody wanted to know if you were on Steemit and what your Steemit handle name is.
No, I am not. So
Okay.
I haven't I read like a bunch of articles, but I don't have some Steams.
And one last question from Ed Martin. He just wanted to know if you could touch up on a little bit of how do people know that they can trust Ledger? And personally, I would just say it's open source technology speaks for itself. But is there anything that you could say to maybe rest his mind at ease?
Well, yeah. So Ledger is open source. There's on the secure element. There's like a closed source part on the secure element, on which we have some NDAs to develop like some parts of it. But it is as open as we can, and this closed source part is as small as we can do, on which we can have like regular audits to be performed. All the core and the apps are fully auditable, open source. You can verify it yourself. I guess the trust that we have, there will always be like a notion of trust. Right now, it's mostly on the fact that it's being used by sold like maybe 100,000 plus units. It's used to store. We don't log anything on what our user have, but I would guess there's like a couple of 100 million for sure of crypto asset that is stored around that. It's been live for now almost 3 years. There's a real team with real people that people know where to find. So yeah, there's a lot of elements that makes Ledger trustable. You can verify it. There's everything you can verify yourself, and there's like the brand and the trust that we've created in the community beyond that.
Awesome. I think they're going to sleep easier at night knowing that. Let me just shout out a couple of my followers here that I have. I have Boss Lady, James Bond, Agartha, Yellow something. Everybody, thank you so much. Ed, I got Happiness here. Thank you guys for all of the conversation. I'd like to, over at the Bitcoin podcast, we like to end our conversations with a pretty difficult question. So take all the time you need, and I like to tweak this per guest. So if you could explain what a cryptocurrency hardware wallet is in 10 words or less, go for it.
Yeah, well, offline device to protect your keys. Wow.
There you go. That's exactly it. It's an offline device that'll protect your private keys. I love it. All right, Thomas, thank you so much for joining me over at the Bitcoin podcast for this Not Another Bitcoin interview. Everybody, don't forget to go to Ledger, get yourself a hardware wallet. There's the links are in the description box below. And don't forget to shout out to Thomas, tell him thank you. And you can reach out to him if you wanted to get part of the team. All right, guys, thank you, and have a day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.